and welcome to Ghost Stories for Christmas 2023. I'm Charlotte Bond, and today I'm reading A Pretty for Polly by Mercedes M. Yardley. Dear Boss, he wrote in his careful, exquisite hand, I keep on hearing the police have caught me. Time, care, dipping the pen in the ink pot again and again, making love to the paper with his words, handwriting perfect, everything perfect. I am down on whores and shan't quit ripping them. He was a man of precision, a man of great attention, spectacles always clean, shirt always tucked in neatly. It was all about appearances, wasn't it? To show your esteem, to show your respect. Even a prudent man has demons. Even a quiet man has something sinister inside. He would never have believed this, but then, that was before. Daddy? What, Polly? Mamma said I should run in and tell you good night. He turned away from his letter, stopping the ink pot. He opened his arms and the little girl ran into them. Be good, my darling one. Dream of sweets. I will, Daddy. She has ribbons and lace and sleeping slippers, smelling clean after her bath. He slipped her a candy from the drawer of his desk and put his fingers over his lips, slowly. She smiled back and flew to the door like a bright bird. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly. Wouldn't you? A promise is a promise is a promise. He was good at keeping promises. 3 days later, one night, 2 women. The first, what a disappointment. He was almost immediately interrupted by a man in a carriage. As he fled, he regretted the sloppy slash and dash, regretted the way it left him numb. He felt tears in his eyes, but didn't wipe them away, and they didn't fall. He made up for it with the second woman, took the time, explored her face and her body with his knife, more deeply and in depth than any lover, kept his promise, as he is wont to do, and left her earlobe barely attached. He hovered in the dark alleys of the East End, his coat neatly buttoned, his eyes full of shine, his knife tucked securely in his belt, the blood going brackish and ugly on it, but he didn't want to clean it, not yet. It was proof. It tied him to her. Find me, he thought. Just find me. Here I wait. The police ran around in a shiny-booted panic, ran past him several times even. Each time his mouth parted in breathless hope, his eyebrows arched in expectation. I have a daughter, he said calmly to one as he scurried past. She deserves better. The policeman cast him a look over his shoulder, but that was it. That was all. The London fog rolled past, like a man shunned for an invitation, a husband whose wife didn't look up when he entered the room. He felt small. Time passed. He cleaned his knife thoroughly with a rag, tossed the bloody scrap on the ground, the rag catching the moonlight like something ghostly, the remnant of a person once special to somebody. He waited some more. Nobody came. He walked slowly home. They never found him. They never found him, even though he stood there, even though he waited. Time to up the ante, to force them to look in a way they hadn't been looking before. A box, small and precise, something imprecise inside. Something that had been a treasure, something necessary and functioning, but now it was nothing. His hair fell over his eyes. He pushed it aside. So, he wrote. His penmanship was long and loopy, scrawled and uneven. Ink dripped on the paper and he cursed gently, tried to wipe it away. I sent you half the kidney I took from one woman and preserved it for you. He frowned at the words. Was that how you spelled that? Why did everything look so odd? He was a gentleman of education, of taste. But this looked like it was written by another hand. by another man, all monster entirely. He took a deep breath and calmed himself, shut his eyes hard, and thought of his schooling, of his business, of the successes that he had earned for himself. He was that man. This was only a letter. It was easy for a man of learning to write a simple letter. He dipped his pen in the inkpot and touched it to the paper. "T'other piece I fried and ate. It was very nicey." He steepled his fingers and put them to his lips. A knock on the door, soft, gentle. "Daddy?" Just a minute, darling." The box. He closed it, slid it under his desk. It smelled of blood and wine, but surely a little girl wouldn't realise that, yes? Surely she'd be too busy thinking of pretty things, of kittens and trinkets, and perhaps something her father could buy her. Yes, he'd offer to pick something up for her the next time he was out, the next time he came back from that place. "Come in." She didn't fly this time, but walked in quietly on her toes. Why? Ah, yes, she was practicing walking softly, like a ballerina. He had forgotten. "What delicate kitten feet," he said, and kissed her forehead. "What dainty, beautiful steps." "Daddy, do you have to go out tonight?" He paused, quieted. His moustache remained completely still, not touched by his breath at all. "Why do you ask?" She looked up at him with her little girl eyes. Whore eyes. No, little girl eyes. "Because I miss you, Daddy. We used to play games in the nursery. Mama says you're sick and that's why you leave. Do you see doctors, Daddy? Is that why you go?" He took off his spectacles, polished them. "The whore tells you it's a sickness, does she? Some things aren't for little girls to know about." His daughter blinked, too rapidly, and he realised his voice had changed, that he wasn't her daddy, but something else. He tried to soften it. "Would you like a necklace?" A what?" "Would you like a necklace? The next time I go out to deal with my sickness." "A necklace? A necklace! A necklace! Are you too stupid to understand what I'm saying?" Her hands flew to her mouth, and she took a step back. He ran his fingers through his hair. "Oh, my darling, oh, my little girl, forgive me. Forgive your tired old father. Come here, please." He held his arms out to her, as he had done so many times, and she cautiously walked into them. He buried his face in her hair, smelling childhood and womanhood and rot. He pulled away. Go from me." She padded silently to the door, a princess in her nightgown. "Darling, before you leave, I have a question for you." "Yes, Daddy?" "You're good at your studies. How do you spell the word kidney?" "Kidney?" "Yes, like the one we had at dinner." "It was very good. Why didn't you eat any?" "Never mind that. Kidney. Spell it for me." Kidney. Kidney. I think. He looked at his letter, frowned. "Did I spell it right?" Her eyes so wide, her face so open, perfect, in one piece, unseamed, seamless, without seams. She wanted so badly to please him. He smiled at her. "Beautiful job, my precious one. Dream sweet dreams tonight." She scurried away, forgetting her ballet walk, and he heard her laughing as she ran to the nursery. His heart ached. He turned back to the letter. "Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk." He stared at the page, the red ink, felt the box under his desk with the toe of his fine shoe, noticed the plain space on the upper right portion of the letter. Where was this written from? He sighed, took out his pen again. His hand shook. "From hell." Covered with blood this time. There was no way around it. Not after what he had done. Hours and hours with this one. In a room with a window even. Would somebody walk by? Wouldn't they please walk by? She had screamed, "Murder!" And his soul had thrilled. Surely somebody would respond to that. To the cries of a beautiful woman begging for her life. But no. Could they really become so callous? so careless. "I'm sorry, Polly," he had said. That's not my name, sir." He wept while he used his knife. He could hardly find his inkpot. It had rolled on the floor. He scrabbled through flurries of papers and finally decided on a creased envelope. "Why, old boss," he scrawled. He pressed so hard that the nib of his pen tore through the paper. He swore and tried again. "You thought yourself very clever, I reckon, but you made a mistake. You'll never catch me. Clues and hints I gave you, and you still didn't find me. I have you when you don't expect it, and I keep my word, as you soon see, and rip you up. Ha ha. I love my work, and I shan't stop until I get buckled, and even then, watch out for your old pal Jackie. Catch me if you can, Jack the Ripper." "Sorry about the blood, still messy from the last one. What a pretty necklace I gave her." He stood up, trembling, wiped his red hand across his face, leaving streaks across his stubbled skin. He stuffed the letter into his pocket and reached down to pull the ribbon from Polly's beautiful hair. Patted her cheek, or what was left of it. He wrapped her ribbon around his fist, straightened, and closed the door behind him without any sound. The end. Merry Christmas.